Hey folks, in this video we're going to be talking about 4 tips that I've used to great effect to create epic concept art. If you're just joining me for the first time, my name's Chris. I'm a 15-year concept art vet in games, TV, and print media, and my goal is to show that concept art can be for everyone, regardless of skill level. So stick around. So, how do we create epic concept art? Ever since I started painting, I've wanted to learn how to create them, going all the way back to my pen and paper days. Key images, bold images, the kind that grab the viewer and stick in their mind. My formative learning years are really marked by just a few main images. Even though I studied and pored over thousands of paintings while learning, really, I can count the ones that stuck with me and drove my motivation on one hand. But when it came time to paint my own, I could never figure out how to leave that emotional resonance on the viewer's imagination. It was sort of like listening to a symphony and then trying to recreate it on a xylophone. It just wasn't working. However, in the years since joining the professional art industry, I've come to realize that making epic art isn't a secret sauce. It really just comes down to a few key principles that, when understood, can be executed on every time. So let's dive in and talk about them. Number 1. Scale. The number one thing that can help bring that feeling of epic drama to your pieces is a sense of massive scale. And scale is always relative. If you paint some ancient ruins on a hilltop, you leave the viewer to apply their understanding of real-world scale. They will assume the ruins to be as big as ruins are in real life. But if you paint in a tiny figure, an animal, a car, a vehicle, something that we recognize to be on our personal scale, suddenly we understand that these ruins are absolutely massive, larger than anything we have on Earth. That understanding of scale is driven entirely by how big or small we paint our reference object. And we find that that massive difference in scale, say, is between a person and a giant ancient ruin, helps drive the drama of the piece. Scale can also be heavily expanded with the use of great depth in a piece, how far back in space the image goes, and how wide a field of view it encompasses. That can help build that massive scale. In essence, a massive scale difference is a form of visual and narrative contrast, which brings me to contrast. So, contrast is roughly defined as the difference between two things. It could be size, it could be shape, it could be volume. It's simply the gulf between thing A and thing B. 2 slightly different oranges on a counter would have low object contrast. Now, if you replace one of those oranges with a banana, now they would have high shape contrast, but medium to low color contrast. In the previous principle, I was talking about size contrast. But in this point, I'm talking about value and color contrast. Now, value is defined as simply the lightness or darkness of a color. Lighter is higher value, darker is lower value. Gray is medium value. And one of the things which I've found that can really help to impart that epic feel to a piece is healthy value and color contrast. That is, there are a wide range of well-controlled lights and darks in your image, as well as a range of colors, or at least a good set of controlled complementary colors. Now, what do I mean by well-controlled? Well, it's possible to have a high contrast range on a painting where none of the areas of contrast help define the image, the story, or the space in it. Imagine a cow print texture on a wall. It's high contrast, but it in no way helps describe an image. However, when it is well controlled, you can use bands or regions of light and dark to help differentiate important areas of your image, such as what we're painting here, where we're keeping the character in a dark value range to separate them from the massive background drama taking place beyond. And speaking of that, the reveal. So for this one, we're going to shift from painting technique to narrative technique. So what do I mean by the reveal? Well, picture this moment in your favorite movie. The stakes are high, the main character is down on the ground, camera is tight on them. They hear a deep rumbling behind them, they grit their teeth and slowly rise. The camera pans around behind them, showing the source of the noise, and we see, or maybe this. The band of travelers have made the final leg of their trying journey. Triumphantly, they crest the top of the hill, the camera cranes over the top of them as the music swells, and we see your image. So the reveal is this moment. It's the moment everything changes in your story. Maybe the villain is revealed. Maybe the depth of the devastation is finally known. Maybe the grandeur of a great city is seen at last. Any way you cut it, it's a demarcation between what has come before and where the story is now heading. And often it's marked by a sudden realization of just how big the situation is that the character or characters are dealing with. Everything else aside, it's really this point that defined Epic to me. It's not a story point, it's the story point. And if it's done right, you can not only imply where the story is going, but also where it's been. Because as a dramatic reveal generally marks a major turning point in a story, you can imply that the story just before this reveal had a very different, likely much lower set of dramatic stakes. What's great about a reveal is that it can make a single image work backward and forward in time. You can project the story in both directions with one image. And the reason we like dramatic reveals so much is that it ties deeply to how we relate to the final key part of an epic image. Character. So, does an epic image need character? No, not necessarily. You can definitely have a dramatic image with no character, or that character can be implied or contained in something else, like on a boat, a spaceship, or a city. But generally, the way we relate to stories and their dramatic developments is that they matter. And the reason they matter to us is that they matter to someone. The contrast is there, the scale is understood, the true nature of the situation has been revealed, and these things have consequences for some person. This is the figure that you as the artist are placing your audience's emotions into. This is the point of view character, and the way the story affects your audience is heavily influenced by how it affects your characters. This character is now going to have to deal with the dramatic event that you've revealed to your audience, and they can start to build up that emotional investment of imagining what it is that's about to happen to the character in the image. So there you have it. These 4 tips are what I've learned can help create that epic atmosphere that I'm often striving for in my images. It's the emotional resonance that inspires me when I see it in others' work. It fulfills me when I see it in my own work. And it keeps me striving to do better, do more, and improve my craft so I can tell bigger, more impactful stories. Are they hard and fast rules of nature? Not at all. They're not even hard and fast rules of art. In fact, there are a million ways to ignore or counter any or all of these and still have an epic painting. And even the word epic can mean different things to different people. But for me, I found that these 4 techniques are dials that I can turn down or up that have the greatest impact on how an epic image reads for me, and I think that if explored, understood, and applied, they can have a big impact on your work as well. Try them out, try each of them separately or together, and most importantly, see if you can break them. If you push a technique to its limit, I've found that it's the fastest way to understand its power and what you can use it for. And also that each tip, trick, or technique you internalize makes you that much stronger as an artist and takes you that much closer to making the kind of artwork that you want to make. And I'm always excited to hear about other techniques that work for artists. So if you have a go-to process for making your work feel epic, please share it in the comments below. And maybe even link to your art so we can see it in action. And if you have questions, comments, or suggestions for future video topics, definitely add them, as the best way for us to improve as artists is to share our own journeys with each other, support each other, and help each other grow. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you the absolute best of painting. And until next time, go make worlds. As far as, hold on. Ever since I started painting, I wanted to learn how to create them, going all the way back to pencil and paper. So, how do we create epic concept art?